Hello everyone, and welcome. Today we embark on a journey into the enchanting world of orchids, a realm filled with vibrant colors and intricate patterns that captivate the hearts of many. Orchids, with their elegant blooms, have a certain allure, don't they? Their presence can transform any space into a serene oasis, offering a glimpse into nature's artistry. They bring a touch of the exotic into our homes, and caring for them can be a truly rewarding experience. Imagine the joy of watching a new bud slowly unfurl, revealing its stunning petals. Many people think of orchids as finicky, but with a little understanding and some simple care tips, you can enjoy their exquisite blooms year after year. Think of it as creating the perfect environment for a cherished guest. Just like any guest, orchids have their preferences: the right amount of light, the perfect balance of water, and a cozy spot to call home. Today, we're focusing on Phalaenopsis orchids, often called moth orchids. These beauties are known for their striking resemblance to moths in flight. They're one of the most popular varieties, and for good reason. Their blooms come in a dazzling array of colors and patterns. They're relatively easy to care for and adapt well to indoor conditions. With the right care, they can bloom multiple times a year. So, whether you've received a beautiful Phalaenopsis as a gift or treated yourself to one, I'm here to guide you on how to keep it thriving long after those initial blooms fade. Let's begin. Just like us, orchids thrive on the right amount of light. Light is essential for their growth, health, and blooming. Without the right light, orchids can struggle, just as we would without the sun. It's all about balance and finding that sweet spot where they can flourish. And for Phalaenopsis orchids, that means bright, indirect light. This type of light mimics their natural habitat, where they grow under the canopy of trees, receiving dappled sunlight. Direct sunlight can be too harsh, causing damage to their delicate leaves and flowers. Think of it like finding the perfect spot to relax with a good book. You want to be bathed in a warm glow, not subjected to the harsh glare of direct sunlight. The same principle applies to your orchids. They need a comfortable, well-lit environment to thrive. A south-facing window, while tempting, can be a bit too intense for these beauties. The direct, unfiltered sunlight can scorch their leaves and hinder their growth. Instead, an east-facing window, where they can soak up the gentle morning sun, is ideal. Morning light is softer and less intense, providing the perfect conditions for your Phalaenopsis orchids. If your only option is a west or south-facing window, don't fret. Simply filter the light with a sheer curtain. This will diffuse the sunlight, making it less harsh and more suitable for your orchids. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if my orchid is getting enough light? Well, observe its leaves. The leaves are a great indicator of the plant's overall health and light exposure. Healthy leaves should be a vibrant green. This color indicates that the plant is receiving the right amount of light and is photosynthesizing effectively. If you notice the leaves turning a pale yellow or developing brown spots, that's a sure sign that your orchid is getting a bit too much sun. On the other hand, if the leaves are a very dark green and the plant hasn't bloomed in a while, it might be a sign that it's not getting enough light. Just like we need our sunshine, so do our orchids. By understanding their light needs and providing the right conditions, you can help your orchids thrive and enjoy their beautiful blooms for years to come. Now let's move on to watering, which is often where many orchid enthusiasts, even the most well-intentioned, encounter a few hiccups. The key to success, as with most things in life, is moderation and understanding. You see, orchids, unlike many other houseplants, don't appreciate sitting in soggy soil. Their roots need to breathe, and overwatering is one of the quickest ways to suffocate them. A good rule of thumb is to water your orchid once a week. However, and this is important, always feel the potting medium before you reach for that watering can. Orchids typically thrive in a chunky, well-draining mix made of bark chips or sphagnum moss. Simply stick your finger about an inch or two into the medium. If it feels dry, it's time to give your orchid a drink. If it still feels damp, hold off for a few more days and check again. Orchids, with their delicate blooms and graceful presence, absolutely adore humidity. They crave it just as much as a well-baked cake craves a dollop of freshly whipped cream. Now, these beauties thrive in humidity levels between 40 and 60%. Think of their natural habitat tropical rainforests, where the air is thick with moisture. You can easily gauge your home's humidity with a hygrometer, a handy little tool that tells you the moisture level in the air. You can find them at most garden centers. If the reading is below 40%, don't fret, my dears. There are several simple ways to give your orchid the spa treatment it deserves. Remember, a happy orchid is one that blooms beautifully, and we all want that, don't we? Creating a humid haven for your orchid isn't about turning your home into a sauna. It's about finding that perfect balance, that sweet spot where your orchid feels pampered and you feel comfortable. Now let's talk temperature. Orchids, like most of us, prefer comfortable, moderate temperatures. Think balmy spring days, not scorching summer afternoons or frigid winter nights. The ideal daytime temperature for these beauties is between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine a sunny spot on the porch where you'd curl up with a good book and a refreshing iced tea. That's the kind of warmth your orchid enjoys. At night, a slightly cooler temperature of 55 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit is perfect. Think of a cozy evening with a light breeze flowing through the windows. Remember, consistency is key when it comes to temperature. Avoid placing your orchid near drafts, heaters, or air conditioners. Sudden temperature swings can stress the plant, much like a sudden downpour can dampen a perfectly planned picnic. Just like we need a balanced diet to thrive, orchids need regular feeding to produce those stunning blooms. Now, when it comes to fertilizer, we don't want to overwhelm our delicate orchids. Think of it like adding a sprinkle of sugar to your morning coffee, just a touch to enhance the flavor. Choose a balanced, water-soluble fertilizer specifically formulated for orchids. You'll find a wide variety at your local garden center, each with its own blend of nutrients. Look for a fertilizer with a ratio of 30-10-10, which represents the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content. These three elements are essential for healthy foliage growth, vibrant blooms, and strong root development. Remember, always choose a high-quality fertilizer from a reputable brand. Section 2. Fertilizing techniques. Orchids, unlike many of our houseplants, don't require frequent repotting. In fact, they often prefer the snug embrace of their current pot. Think of it like a perfectly aged terracotta planter, holding its shape and character over time. A good rule of thumb is to consider repotting every 1 to 2 years. However, just like knowing when a cake is perfectly baked, there are signs to watch for. Has your orchid's potting mix begun to break down? Does it resemble soggy, decomposing bark rather than the firm, airy structure it once had? This is a telltale sign that it's time for a refresh. And just like a flourishing herb garden might outgrow its container, you might notice roots pushing out of the drainage holes, or even circling around the top of the potting mix. Your orchid is telling you it needs more room to grow. Now that your orchid has graced your home with its stunning blooms, filling your space with vibrant colors and delicate fragrances, you might be wondering about the best way to care for it after the flowers fade. The once vibrant petals may start to wilt and fall, signaling the end of the blooming cycle. One crucial aspect of post-bloom care is pruning, a practice that can seem intimidating to many orchid enthusiasts. The idea of cutting into your beloved plant may seem daunting at first, especially if you're new to orchid care. But I assure you it's quite straightforward. With a little knowledge and the right tools, you can prune your orchid with confidence. Pruning at the right time can actually encourage your orchid to produce more blooms in the future, leading to a healthier and more vibrant plant. And who wouldn't want that? Imagine your orchid rewarding you with another round of beautiful flowers. Just like we deadhead spent blooms in our gardens to redirect the plant's energy towards new growth, we can apply a similar principle to our beloved orchids. By removing the old spent spikes, we help the plant conserve energy and focus on producing new growth and blooms. Remember, not all orchid spikes need to be pruned immediately after flowering. It's important to assess the condition of the spike before making any cuts. If the spike remains green and plump, it might surprise you with a second round of blooms from a dormant node. This is a sign that the plant still has energy to produce more flowers. Keep an eye on the nodes along the spike, as they can sometimes produce new buds and blooms, extending the flowering period of your orchid. However, if the spike begins to turn brown and dry, it's a clear indication that its time has come to an end. In this case, it's time to bid it farewell. Cutting off the brown spike will help the plant redirect its energy towards new growth. In the next section, I'll guide you through the simple steps of pruning your orchid spike, ensuring you do it correctly and efficiently. By following these steps, you'll ensure a healthy and vibrant plant ready to grace your home with its beauty once again. So, let's get started and give your orchid the care it deserves. First, make sure your pruning shears are clean and sharp. This will help you make precise cuts and prevent any potential damage to the plant. Next, examine the orchid spike closely. Look for any signs of new growth or dormant nodes that might produce new blooms. Once you've identified the right spot, make a clean cut just above a node or at the base of the spike if it's completely brown. Applying a small amount of cinnamon to the cut can help prevent infection and promote healing. After pruning, continue to care for your orchid by providing it with the right amount of water and light. Orchids thrive in bright, indirect light and need to be watered when the potting mix is almost dry. Misting the leaves can also help maintain humidity, which is essential for orchid health. Place your orchid in a bright spot, but avoid direct sunlight, which can scorch the leaves. With proper care and attention, your orchid will continue to thrive and bring joy to your home with its stunning blooms. So don't be afraid to prune your orchid. It's a simple and rewarding process that will keep your plant healthy and beautiful for years to come. Happy pruning, and may your orchids continue to flourish and brighten your home with their exquisite beauty. Orchids, like all living things, can sometimes experience a bit of trouble. But don't worry, with a little observation and understanding, you can easily address any issues and keep your orchid thriving. One of the most common signs of distress is yellowing leaves. This could be a sign of overwatering, insufficient light, or even low humidity. Remember, orchids prefer bright, indirect light, so if your plant is tucked away in a dark corner, it might be time to relocate it to a sunnier spot. Another telltale sign is drooping flowers or buds. This can be a result of inconsistent watering, sudden temperature changes, or even exposure to drafts. Orchids prefer a consistent environment, so avoid placing them near heating or cooling vents. If you notice black spots on the leaves, it could indicate a fungal or bacterial infection. From understanding the importance of proper lighting and watering techniques to mastering the art of pruning your beautiful plants and troubleshooting common problems, we've covered everything you need to know to keep your Phalaenopsis orchid happy and thriving. Remember, caring for an orchid is a rewarding journey, and with a little patience and attention to detail, you'll be rewarded with stunning blooms year after year. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more gardening tips and tricks, and be sure to share your orchid care journey with us in the comments below. Happy growing, and see you next time. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Happy growing!